dudes and dudettes. How are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Cinema Chazzy, the very first Cinema Chazzy of the new year, you know. In case you're new to the channel and this is your first time watching a Cinema Chazzy, you know, it is the segment where I review the many movies that I watch, whether they're old or new, you know. I give you my opinions about it and also take you a little bit about behind the scenes, talk about the production, you know. Depending on the movie that I'm covering, they can get a little long, but sometimes they're short, you know. But it all depends on what I'm going to be talking about. And today, I'm actually excited but also apprehensive and nervous because I'm going to be doing the first of a saga of movie reviews. You know, there's going to be one trilogy, then I'm going to break and then do the other trilogy, you know. I am going to be talking about the entire Star Wars saga, well, at least the original saga, the original 6 movies, you know. Starting off with today, which is Episode 4, A New Hope, you know. Not entirely sure what's going to show up on the title card here, but it's going to be some derivation of that, you know. Now, this here was the very first Star Wars movie released ever, you know, in 1977. However, chronologically, it's the 4th one, as the name says. You know, why the hell George Lucas did it this way, I will never know. He went 4, 5, 6, then many years later, 1, 2, 3. Then Disney continued it and then went back and did, you know, 7, 8, 9. It's just a whole confusing thing, you know. This movie was actually largely successful, you know, because it became one of the very first blockbuster hits after Jaws in 75, you know, because it really truly revolutionized filmmaking and put George Lucas on the map, you know, in the cinematic world. This movie had an original budget of $11 million and went on to gross a whopping $775 million. So it really did become one of the most successful movies of all time. And actually, here's a fun fact for you guys. When adjusted for inflation, Star Wars, the original one, is actually the 2nd highest grossing movie in North America after just Gone with the Wind, you know, and it is actually currently the 4th highest grossing movie of all time, you know, regardless of inflation. So yeah, I would go on to say it was pretty successful, you know, the epic, you know, space opera, you know, that really introduced the world to, you know, the Force and, you know, likable characters. And there was such a troubled production behind it, you know. George Lucas was literally pulling his hair out and going crazy, but he insisted, despite everybody around him being so pessimistic, he released it, you know, and eventually, you know, became a blockbuster hit and kind of like became the staple for sci-fi movies at the time, you know, because George Lucas was a fan of science fiction, so he wanted to kind of create this new world that was inspired by Flash Gordon, you know. He was coming off hot on the heels of his other movies like American Graffiti, so he decided to put this together. He brought in a stellar cast, Harrison Ford to play the smuggler Han Solo, then there was Mark Hamill to play, you know, the farm boy turned Jedi Luke Skywalker, and of course Carrie Fisher to play Leia Organa, who was the princess and leader of the Rebel Alliance, you know. There were a lot of likable characters. We were finally introduced to C-3PO, R2-D2, the old grizzled Ben Kenobi, and they go on this adventure to stop the evil the Imperial Empire, wow, the Galactic Empire, you know, who has this new super weapon called the Death Star that actually can blow up entire planets, you know. So along the way, they make friends, you know, and they team up and destroy. Now, at the time that this movie was released, the special effects were groundbreaking, you know. George Lucas would later go on to keep remaking the movie many times with more modern technology, but the original truly was something special, you know, although very cringy. You cannot deny the cringiness of the original Star Wars, you know, but still, man, I personally thought it was really cool. And now everything was praised, from the acting, direction, the story, the musical score, the action sequences, you know. John Williams created what has become the iconic Star Wars themes, you know, for pretty much all of the Star Wars movies back when George Lucas was still, you know, taking the reins, you know. So I actually thought it was really impressive how he managed to create these amazing timeless, you know, hits, you know. The editing was also really good for the time, you know, and also the costume design, the screenplay. At the time, there were very groundbreaking special effects that George Lucas created with Industrial Light and Magic. Go away, you stupid wasp, you know, that he himself created. So I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, you know. I forgot how these videos work. Let me take a break here and give you guys a clip of the movie before I continue. Cool, huh? Pretty dang cool, man. I forgot how Cinema Chazzy works. I gotta stop every now and again to show you guys clips and stuff, you know. But anyway, Star Wars is actually cool because it kind of, you know, pulls from a lot of different, you know, mythologies and religions, you know, to create this epic world, you know. George Lucas drew inspiration from sources like King Arthur and Beowulf, you know, for the actual, you know, religious background of the Force that we are introduced to because of Ben Kenobi, you know. How we look at it as a way for you to like levitate things around and stuff, but of course later on we would learn that it's actually this religious belief among Force sensitive beings who can actually use it to manipulate the events around him, you know. And George also pulled from a few other war movies like the Dam Busters in 1955 and 633 Squadrons. I'm not really sure if you say 633 or 633, you know, but still, that movie that was released in 64. So for the scenes at the end with the X-Wings and the ships flying, you know, so everything looked really cool, man, you know. And now I'm pretty sure you guys know the story of Star Wars at this point, you know, but in a nutshell, you know, we have Leia escaping from Darth Vader, you know, and beaming the ships for the Death Star down to Tatooine. The Empire comes down, and then they find Luke, and he runs away to look for the droids that actually got away from him. Then his aunt and uncle are killed. Then he goes with Ben, you know, on this journey, you know, to learn about the Force. Then they meet Han Solo and Chewbacca. Then they escape from the Empire. Then they go in to save Princess Leia on the Death Star, this and that. Then eventually they go back to I think they go to Yavin 4 to make up the plans. Then they launch a trench run to the Death Star, then they blow it up, and that's pretty much Star Wars in a nutshell, you know. There are a lot of different elements there, you know. There is a lot of character development, and the relationships are truly unique, you know. I actually think that Han Solo and Leia Organa have a much better on-screen romance and chemistry than, you know, Anakin and Padme did in the prequel trilogy, you know. I think that goes without saying. It is an epic love story between two people who don't get along at first, you know. Then we see Luke slowly forming into a Jedi warrior and becoming a hero and our main protagonist, you know. But that original duo of Luke, Han, and Leia will be timeless forever, you know. And it's really cool how the actors had such good chemistry, especially in the table readings before they even started acting, you know, before they were cast in the roles. So Star Wars has a lot of different influences from across different lines of thought, you know. So there are many other movies that George Lucas pulled from, like even Wizard of Oz was compared to it, you know. So now, I actually think that the visual approach to Star Wars was cool because even though George Lucas had a vision for the time of what he wanted the movie to come out as, you know, he was very limited in the technological resources, so he wasn't very pleased with the final cut, which is why he kept remaking it in special editions over the years, you know. But still, it's kind of, I can relate to that because here on YouTube, sometimes I really want to execute something, but I don't have the proper resources on my computer to do it, so I gotta kind of like essentially half-ass it in a way unintentionally to make it come out in a certain way. But there are many things that I wish I could do as well on my channel that I can, and George Lucas was the same thing back in the 70s, you know. So, and the all-star cast really came together to create, you know, these really amazing characters like, you know, Peter Cushing playing Grand Moff Tarkin. Then we had, I believe, let me see if I remember, David Prowse was the physical actor for Darth Vader, you know, who's very tall and imposing and muscular. But we had James Earl Jones doing his iconic voice for the character, you know. So Darth Vader was the classic movie villain, you know, that we love to hate and also hated to love, that kind of thing, you know. All of the characters were relatable. Star Wars became this huge thing with a lot of merchandising and tie-ins and spin-offs, you know, but it all began with this one back in the 70s. And before I continue, I will show you guys yet another clip here from this timeless classic.
Stop that ship! Blast them!
Oh my, I'd forgotten how much I hate space travel.
Here they come.
Now, George Lucas originally pitched Star Wars to multiple film studios, but they weren't interested in it, you know. They just thought it was a very weird and bad idea, and they didn't want to take a chance on it until along came 20th Century Fox, who gave him a chance, you know. And originally he wanted to draw inspiration from Flash Gordon, but make it a little bit more fun and adventurous. Make it a little bit more optimistic, which is why it was always so fun and adventurous, you know, if that made sense. Like, Star Wars is heavy, you know, but it is largely family friendly, you know. There aren't many depictions of graphic violence, although in the original Star Wars there was a scene where Ben Kenobi slices somebody's arm with a lightsaber and we see blood, you know, which would later on would go on to be redacted because lightsabers, that you don't bleed with them because like it cuts you and it's so hot that it like singes and freezes your blood, you know. So the lightsaber was a very, very iconic weapon, you know, and it went on to become one of the most recognizable ones in history. And the original Star Wars had a few interesting special effects. The ideas were good, you know. It actually went because of multiple delays, it actually went $3 million over budget at one point. It was really frustrating for George Lucas to put things together, you know. A lot of it was practical effects, so it took a long time to build the character models and stuff, you know, and a lot of things were actually done like Harryhausen style with miniatures and stop motion, you know, where you see big things but they're actually small with the camera up close, you know, doing different imposition shots, you know, a lot of forced perspectives. So, but in the end it came out pretty okay. Like when you watch the original Star Wars, you can kind of tell that everything is very practical, you know, it doesn't look realistic, but it did still become very successful, you know. Star Wars was a cultural phenomenon, man, you know, and it is still considered to be one of the greatest and most influential films ever made still to this day. Became a pop culture phenomenon, but the original took a while to happen, you know. People, it was given a wider release, people were there, you know, watching it, but the practical effects at the time were okay. But when you look at it today, the lightsaber blade, you know, and some of the blaster shots and the sound, everything is very weird and like rudimentary, but it is still something special. I grew up watching Star Wars in the more modern era. I have seen the original movies, you know, but the special edition ones are a little bit more nostalgic to me. I don't remember what the last one that I saw was. I think it was there was a 20th anniversary special edition, you know, with a lot better, you know, changes and modified computer generated images. There was altered dialogue, there was remixing, there was, you know, different music and stuff, you know, soundtracks, and even added scenes. Don't think I saw that one yet. I think the one that I saw was back in 2011. I even have a box set of the DVDs, you know, but I think the ones that I have were released back in, I'm pretty sure they were released, the ones that I bought were like in 2009 or something. I don't know. They're not very current, you know, they're very old, but still they look pretty okay. So that's kind of what I have to go on. So now the production behind Star Wars was very, very aggravating. I have seen a few documentaries and behind the scenes bonus featurettes of how George Lucas made it, you know. It really truly was painful, man. Sometimes pieces would malfunction. I think there was even a point where they were trying to film in a desert in Tatooine and there was a storm that destroyed a lot of the equipment, so they had to start again, you know. It was really aggravating. They were delayed so many times, you know. The actors, like sometimes it was uncomfortable filming in the hot sun, you know, but still, man, they all came together to create this amazing thing for us, you know, that now gave us the iconic lines of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I appreciate Star Wars for what it is. The original really is something special. The timeless story, you know, of good versus evil. We have Ben Kenobi representing the Jedi and Darth Vader representing the Sith, you know, which would go on to spin off into this huge mythos, you know, with a lot of different galaxies and characters. So it all began here. The very cringy old people battle with Vader and Ben, you know, they were all old and stuff. We would, of course, find out that it's actually Anakin versus Obi-Wan, but that's a topic for another day. So before I continue, before I go on, I don't know if there's anything else that I want to say here about this, you know. So before I continue, I'm going to show you guys one more clip here of the movie, and then we're going to go to the final stretch.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here now. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
Now, despite being a huge fan of Star Wars and understanding the influence that this movie had, you know, it's still the original piece of motion picture, you know, art, you know, was very, very, very cringy, you know. And even though I understand what George Lucas tried to do, you know, the special effects for somebody like me who's a 90s kid, you know, if I watch the new special edition today, it's going to ring much truer for me, you know. But I am analyzing the movie as a whole here, you know, the entire conjunction. I cannot give it a perfect rating because I'm very, very critical. Like on Letterboxd, I definitely gave it a 5 out of 5, you know, but that's more for like the nostalgia and actually being a fan of Star Wars. But analyzing the movie itself, you know, despite being so groundbreaking for the time, there were still a few, you know, things here and there that I wasn't really too big a fan of, you know. And it's not even my favorite Star Wars movie, not even of this trilogy here. I'm going to be getting into that later. However, because of its influence and how much I love Star Wars, I will give Episode 4 A New Hope an 8 out of 10. That is how much I like and appreciate it, but I cannot give it a 10 out of 10 because it's just, that's just not how the way it works, you know, because the first movie is very hard to watch, it's very cringy, and it's kind of painful at times, you know, so I'm actually going to be analyzing it the way there it is. But it was very influential to the point where it was actually, it became one of the first 25 films to be selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry, and and that was in 1989, you know, very well deserved, while the soundtrack was added to the National Recording Registry in 2004, you know. There were many sequels, and it also spawned an entire saga with tie-in books and games, comics, you know, other kinds of merchandise, theme parks, attractions, you know, but I'm not going to talk about that. I just want to focus on the actual movie, you know, and I will of course be covering the entirety of the Star Wars original saga here, so stay tuned, because in a few days I will be talking about the sequel, you know, episode 5, so that's going to be fun, and also sprinkling in a few, I forgot to mention that I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on my channel, you know, on my Xbox One, so that's also going to be happening too, you know. That's actually why I'm recording this video here so soon. So there's going to be a lot more Star Wars content coming out, so stay tuned for that if you're a Star Wars fan and if you happen to actually enjoy my content in general. And let me know what you guys thought about this. I'm sorry if this is a little weird. It's because it's my first Cinema Chazzy in months, you know, a month and a half or so. So I'm still getting back into the swing of things. It's gonna rain, man. It's about to rain hard. I gotta wrap this up here. Anyway, guys, if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel, because I release videos every single day. And also hit the notification bell to know exactly what time I upload. And let me know in the comments below what you think about Star Wars, this movie, if you're a fan. And hopefully you might become a fan watching my videos. And that's it, guys. May the Force be with you all. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen in a galaxy far, far away.
Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile.
Star Wars. 1 billion years in the making.
The Force will be with you, always.